believe we have a guest, a most feared guest, one of the most feared from across the galaxy, and renowned. Who do we have coming, James?
Ah, yes. The man himself. You know him. You love him. You fear him. The original Boba Fett, Mr. Jeremy Bulloch.
Did he die in the Sarlacc pit? Is he actually a bounty hunter? Is he good? Is he evil? Is he actually a clone? Is he a human? Is he actually friends with every single character, every single actor who's played Boba Fett? Find out now, right after this short message. That is right, folks. That sponsor is Audible. Audible.com, the #1 supplier of audiobooks in the world today. Our recommendation today is Book 1 of the Bounty Hunter trilogy by K.W. Jeter, narrated by Anthony Heald. Now, Book 1, The Mandalorian Armor, talks about the background life of Boba Fett, what he was like when he was younger, how he got out of the Sarlacc pit, and so on. True, there is debate whether he did get in or out, but this book is fantastic. In fact, I recommend the entire trilogy, but you can get the first book today absolutely free by going to www.audibletrial.com/bombadradio to sign up for the free 30-day trial, and you can get this book absolutely free. And guess what, folks? If you happen not to like the service and decide to cancel, which I doubt you will do, you get to keep this book and keep it forever. You'll never have to give it up. It's always there on Audible for you. And that is, of course, Star Wars The Bounty Hunter Trilogy, Book 1, The Mandalorian Armor. You can get this and so much more, so many more Star Wars books available on Audible.com, narrated by the very best they have to offer, and it can be yours absolutely free by going to our link, www.audibletrial.com/bombadradio. You get it for free, and you help us in the process. Thank you, and now, to Boba Fett. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
We are doing great. Sorry about the little mix-up right there with the recording. I didn't realize you were calling until my recorder started freaking out on me.
Well, you know what is modern technology. I still don't understand it.
Yes, I'm the same way. I'm like, quick, beat it with a hammer.
That sounds like James Kett, Bombad Radio there.
Yes, I am James.
Yep.
A pleasure to
The
meet
magic
you,
of Boba Fett. He knows everything.
I love Boba Fett. This is like such an honor for me. I'm like, holy crap, I'm talking to Boba Fett.
It is an honor to have you on. Do you want us to call you? What do you want us to refer to you as? Boba Fett, Jeremy Bulloch,
No,
Jeremy, Mr. Bulloch.
just Jeremy is fine by me. That's what I've always gone by. So Jeremy is perfect.
Okay,
I was called Mr. Fett.
Or Sir Fett.
Sir Fett, yes.
Yeah, he's Sir.
I was referring to you as Bulloch before, and I was like, no, that sounds like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, whatever you like, doesn't matter.
Okay, and so this is, as you said, this is that's James over there.
Yep.
James or Ket, he refers to either or, and I'm Jeremiah, or you can call me Bane. I don't know what my actual name is on Skype right now.
Call you anything, doesn't matter.
Okay, so welcome to the show. This is a very big honor, and our fans, a lot of them do not know you're going to be on, so this is going to be a big surprise to them. A lot of them will probably, I don't know, fanboy or fangirl and freak out. As I'm quite sure you're used to.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite strange, actually, that the way Boba Fett has taken off. I mean, to me, I always say this. I said I was lucky, that you happened to get into the costume. It fitted perfectly. You did it. It was a very small part. Yet suddenly, from the re-release in 1997 of all the films, it's suddenly taken off. I mean, you can't go anywhere without someone dropping a letter through the post or on the phone and said, "Are you really Boba Fett?" And I said, "Well, sometimes, yes, not always." but it's taken off in such a big way.
That is very true. Because you've done other things. You've worked with other big franchises like Doctor Who. You've worked with a fairly good Robin Hood show.
Yes.
Star Wars, of course, is your probably the biggest claim to fame as far as like fanboys. But James Bond, even you were in several James Bond movies, and so
the James Bond thing was really. I did three of the films with Roger Moore. And he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet because he's always laughing and giggling. And he said, "Good gracious," he said, "here you are again. You're doing another film." He said, "You'll be playing Bond next." I said,
well, now that would have been cool.
Yeah, it could have been a bit too old for that now. But no, I've been acting since I was 12 years old. So I went through the thing of going through the child actor, which is always a difficult thing. Because I did so badly at school, I went to drama school, and that was obviously meant to be.
I guess one of your earliest roles, at least as far as like that, a lot of fans will know, especially the British fans, was you were in Doctor Who with, I believe it was the original Doctor.
The William Hartnell.
Yeah, in 1965,
1965.
before Doctor Who was as big as, well, nowadays Doctor Who is huge.
Before most people were born.
That is very true. So how did you get involved with Doctor Who, and then you came back, years later for another set? How did you get involved with Doctor Who? Was it just, did you think it was just a silly show back then, or was it respected back then?
Well, it was respected. It was respected for lots of things that the director would say, look, it's a bit tricky. The sets were a little bit wobbly, so whatever you do, just take it easy, because we haven't got much. And for how little it was and how little money you got, it was such a fun thing to do. I mean, I had these false eyebrows sort of on the top of my head in the first one with William Hartnell. And then it sort of seemed to get better because it was colour television. And there I was with my bow and arrow looking like the best archer, or hopefully looking like the best archer in the world. But it was a thing of growing up and knowing that you had to go through being a teen, 20s, 30s, 40s. It's a very difficult profession, but I've enjoyed myself because I played so many different parts.
When you came back the second time, that was with Tom Baker, right?
No, that was with John Pertwee.
Okay. So it was just before, because Tom Baker started in like 74, 75, somewhere in there.
That's correct.
So it was just before him.
So it was just before, yeah.
And you were in, those arcs were pretty big, because I was watching the original Doctor Who episodes and so on, and I didn't realize that was you.
Yeah, I mean, when it was black and white, and I remember William Hartnell, the first Doctor, he was saying he was getting a bit tetchy, all those years ago, and he was getting on a bit in years, but he was very respectful. He said, "Now you do your job, Sam, and there'll be no problems." And I remember him saying that to me, because there was a bit where I had to dive it and bring him down on the floor. And he said, "Remember, it's just you pretend. It's not real, it's pretend." And I thought, yes, I heard that. But you had to respect him. But it was another actor, an older actor, giving a younger actor, "Now, this is what you've got to do. Whatever you do, discipline." And he would go on and on and on. And I said, "Yes, Mr. Hartnell, quite right. Yes, thank you very much." And you have to listen to someone who's as experienced as he was. But it was quite a difficult time, but funny.
That reminds me of, did you ever see the Ricky Gervais show Extras?
Yes, wonderful.
Do you know the Ian McKellen episode where he's talking about how he's not actually a wizard? I pretend to be a wizard.
Yeah, that's right.
That exchange reminds me exactly of that episode. It was like, Sir Ian, Sir Ian, Sir Ian, you shall not pass. Sir Ian, Sir Ian, Sir Ian.
That reminds me so much, long years ago, and saying, and then someone would say to you, "Oh, I didn't know you were going to be in this," and then immediately, it's very similar. He turned around to me and said, "How many lines have you got?" I said, "About 20 pages. And 20 pages? Because he was trying to find out. And I said, 20 pages? I said, "Yes, I've got 20 pages. What I didn't tell him, that 18 of the pages were blank." So I got away with that.
That's pretty awesome. So are you looking forward to the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who coming up this year, and
yeah, there's
the celebration to go with it?
Hello?
Oh my God!
Hello
it
there.
Works.
Yeah, I know something went wrong. I don't know what it was. My football team probably lost.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. That's what happens in England when football teams lose.
Yeah, that's happened. So. No, but I'm not very good with computers and connections and all that. So, no, sorry about that. I wrote a couple of messages, but we're back online.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just streamline this process. So the last question we're asking is, so are you looking forward to the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who and the celebrations going along with that?
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to, Doctor Who, the celebrations of that. It's rather worrying when they say it's the 50th anniversary or the 40th anniversary of something. Same thing happened really with Robin of Sherwood. It's the 30th anniversary next year, so there's a big do going on there. So I'll probably spend my time next year celebrating lots of different things.
And then, of course, you always have Star Wars to celebrate. I'm assuming, Star Wars Celebration Europe 2 is just around the corner from you. So, do you think you'll probably make a visit there?
Well, I certainly will. I mean, if I'm invited, I hope we go because I'll be able to take hopefully one of my sons with me because he's a fluent German speaker, but also he would love to go just for the whole, because he's never seen what a convention can be like, and especially a big one like the European one.
Ah, and that should be a blast. It'll be. I'm not quite sure it's a lot easier for you to get to Germany than it is to get to Florida for the U.S. side.
I think a lot of people have said, why do they have all the ones in Florida? The Celebration 6, 5, they're all in Florida, but it's an ideal place. I mean, they say it's so hot there. Yes, it's hot, but it's air conditioned and the convention center is perfect. But now in July this year, we will have a European one, and Essen is probably the best place to go.
And, they've had another one in Japan, and they've had another European one before, so it's not like everyone's in Florida. But Florida's also a good place because there's Disney parks, there's Universal,
yes.
There's all these other parks where people can go to for fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, while people are going to Florida, they say they had to save up, which is quite a lot. But then while they're there, why not go and see the Sea World and Disneyland and taste some of the very good food? And so that's what most of the guys in Europe did. They saved up and had a terrific time, stayed on for an extra week, and it was a really good event.
Yep. And yep. I was at Celebration 6, and I absolutely loved it. So
no,
it was
good. The atmosphere was really crackling, and you had 4 days of that, and it's just like all of us being kids, children, behaving appallingly and having a good time.
Yes,
indeed.
Yeah.
So we sent you some of the questions we had prepared, and James actually had a good chunk of those questions. So James, why don't you ask the first of your questions?
All right.
Yeah,
well,
I've got no answers for these, so because I always prefer it. I think if you ask questions, it's got to come off the top of your head. So whatever it is, I shall my best.
Well, for to be fair, these questions did come off the top of my head. I just wrote them down for posterity's sake. But no, my first question was, how exactly did you land the part as the on-screen actor to be Boba Fett?
It's a very strange thing. I get asked this a lot. I mean, first of all, I have to thank my half-brother who was in the film business and was associate producer. And he said, look, they've got this film. It's a sequel. It's called The Empire Strikes Back. And I said, yes. And he said, well, there's a part in it. It's not very much, probably a couple of days' work. That's all. But you put a funny costume on. And, you never know, we may be able to do it. If you get your agent onto it to connect. I said, well, before you go any further, I said, I can't. That's number one, because I'm working in the theatre. He said, oh, I didn't realise that. So cut a long story short, I said, it won't happen. But then the following week I was called in and I met Gary Kurtz and finally George Lucas. And I met them while I was wearing the helmet and the whole costume was fitted. And it fitted like a glove. It was incredible. And they just said, well, okay, well, welcome aboard and see you next week. And I suddenly thought, well, aren't they going to ask me to read? Surely, that you're here now, you'll read. And so I said, well, would you like me to read? They said, no, we won't need that, don't worry. I'm thinking, God, I might make a funny noise or something when I'm talking. But little did I know that Boba Fett hardly had any lines. But again, as I go back to the beginning, I was extremely lucky. I fitted that suit and my half-brother put me on the way to it.
And we're extremely lucky that you were able to fit it, because we know lots of the costumes, talking to like Alan Fling and others, lots of the costumes for the original Star Wars movies, they were very particular with how they fit, and a lot of them, well, they didn't fit very well, and they worked on a limited budget, so it's lucky that you fit the costume the way you did.
Yeah, I think, fitted the costume. I mean, the good thing is, if you're going for if I thought it was the lead character, you would have put a lot more presence in your interview at Elstree Studios. And I remember sort of walking across, and when I first walked onto the set to meet George Lucas, I thought there's something about this character, because as I walked on, the heads just turned and followed me, and I thought, why are they looking at me? What, is there something wrong? Is my hair hanging out of the helmet? And it just happened to work. And as I say to people, well, why did they choose you? I said, well, it was meant to be. Simple as that.
Indeed. So I guess one question I have then is, Boba Fett is famous for being a character that everyone really loves, without actually knowing anything about him. Like, he's pretty much, I know I loved him when I was a kid because of his costume. His costume was great. So did you ever think it was strange how big of a following that Boba Fett has when he doesn't really do much in the movies?
No, but that's, I always go back and I say, over a career which is now 55 years, and you think of all the parts you played, it's the smallest part I've ever played. Yet to get that adoration from kids, I mean, young kids are terrific. They say, Boba, wow, I can't believe. And that's, if I go to my grave and people say, that guy played Boba Fett, I'd be very proud. There's no point in saying, oh, that was years ago, I'm now playing King Lear, I've moved on, that was fun. I'm extremely proud of it. So I will think about that all the time. And when certain people come up and said, thank you, you've made me change direction in what I'm doing. I'm doing an awful lot, but I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to do this job. And I just looked at Boba Fett, looked at you on screen and thought, I know what I can do. I can be a special effects advisor, or I can use my hands because I'm good with my hands. And it's changed direction for a lot of people.
That's actually pretty cool. I mean, Jerry, you got to admit, that's got to be very, like, fulfilling.
It does actually, and it's the similar experience we've had with like Trevor Butterfield and others that were able to be in the film and then did special effects and did lots. Well, they seem to do lots of different parts on there and are very honored to be there, even if they were just a stormtrooper or just a rebel trooper.
Yes, yeah.
Or a random alien.
I mean, yes, it's interesting because there's such a battle. There seems to be people, one or two people come and say, well, I played a part of a pilot, but you hardly saw me. I said, well, it doesn't matter, as long as you were in it. And of course, a lot of people came in and said, oh, well, I played this pilot, and then I played, and they actually didn't. So that's what's so funny about it. You can have 126 stormtroopers, although there were never that many on screen. But if your face is covered, I mean, even me as Boba Fett, I could say, yeah, I played Boba Fett. Yeah, you didn't. Yes, I did. And you never know. I might not. If you've got a mask on, you're halfway there to stardom.
Well, good point. And, in that vein, we know that you played an Imperial officer, and I was wondering, like, were you excited about the fact that you'd be, in the movie without a mask on, actually as you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very funny point there because I was suddenly told, come, Jeremy, get changed, quick. I said, what? And I was in my Boba Fett outfit reading the football results as usual. And they said, quick, get to wardrobe and we've got to fit a costume on you. I said, oh, I wear a different one. They said, no, we've got no one to play this part. It's nothing. You'll just be walking through. But can you get changed? I said, yeah, okay. So I got changed into the Imperial officer's outfit and spent the whole day just grabbing hold of Carrie Fisher, which is huge fun.
That's awesome.
And during that scene, Boba Fett is in that scene. Did you play? Did they like spice together? Were you in the Boba Fett costume, or did they have someone else be in the Boba Fett costume?
No. What happened was at the beginning of that day, they said, "Would you do this?" And little did I know, I would be shooting at Mark Hamill, a bit later on or before. So I know I had plenty of time to get changed back into the Boba Fett outfit and play the part.
Well, that's cool. And so, you have to be in Empire, and you got to be in Return of the Jedi. You also got to be brought back in for Revenge of the Sith, for another role where people get to see your face.
Very nice. Producer Rick McCallum and through George Lucas as well said, well, we're coming back over to England to finish some interior shots and the special spaceship, and they'd like to know whether you'd like to play the part. There's not much, a few lines. And I said, well, it's lovely to be involved once again. And you met up with one or two of the technicians who I knew years ago. And it was, again, a lovely atmosphere. You went into the set and there I was steering this ship, not very well, I don't think. And so I ended up playing 3 parts.
That and 2 of them you got to see your face. So if anyone said you weren't Boba Fett, you're like, well, this guy, yeah, I was, and this guy, I was. So
I was, yeah, absolutely.
okay, so you've played Boba Fett in 2 films. That matches, what basically Daniel Logan's involvement as well.
Yeah.
So what insight could you give us into the character? Like, I guess I should say, what's it like to be inside Boba Fett's head? Like, what type of person is he? Because we know with this couple lines, we know he's able to stand up to Darth Vader and so on. So, like, to you, what type of character is Boba Fett?
Well, it's a question to other people you don't dare ask. He's exceptionally dangerous, but you don't ask him what he's doing or what is he about? Why is he deep thinking? Is he? But he's his own man. He's very fair. And so to you, James, if I said to you, I'm going to kill you, at least I've told you.
Yes.
That's fair. And he's very fair, but he doesn't like Darth Vader at all, because he thinks he's swanning around and giving away too much of what's happening. He'll deal with Jabba the Hutt because there's a lot of money involved with all the bounty from that. So, but other than that, you don't ask him anything about his life or where he lives or what. We know he flies Slave One, but you just beware. Don't ask too many questions.
So, when you were filming those scenes with Darth Vader and so on, there's this line that says when Darth Vader warns Boba Fett, no disintegrations. Did you feel that there was some story prior between Boba Fett and Darth Vader that no one knew about? Did you feel that there was a hint of some prior conflict between the two, or is that just a line?
No, I think that's a good question. I think he did the same thing with Han Solo when the skip when Han Solo said afterwards, Boba Fett, where? So there's something between Boba Fett and Han Solo where they probably flew the Millennium Falcon. They flew that together, and something arose with Boba Fett suddenly with his jetpack leaving. But he's a bit of a rascal, Han Solo. I mean, he can look after himself, but he's a bandit. If there's money there, he'll take it. Something happened to Boba Fett, so he's a little far more dangerous. Maybe
okay.
Han Solo has the charm. Boba Fett just goes straight in and finishes it off.
So Boba Fett has the higher work ethic, and
the higher work ethic.
Han Solo gets distracted.
He spends his time. Han Solo would be womanizing all over the place, and with all the dancing girls and things. He's a charmer, but Boba Fett hasn't got time for all that at all.
Well, we know Boba Fett can flirt a little bit because in the special edition Return of the Jedi, he does have those 2 girls that he's semi-flirting with. Of course, he doesn't take out the helmet. So.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that I would think is again a very dangerous thing. More people are wanting bounty off Boba Fett, so you've got to be very careful. There's people round the side of him, the back of him. He's got to be very careful that he doesn't go too far.
Okay.
He mustn't melt and go, wow, she's fantastic. Look at this Princess Leia. I think I'll step forward. Dangerous.
That's very true and makes perfect sense to me. What about you, James?
No, dude, I agree. It's like Boba Fett's kind of like a finisher.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right, Jeremiah. I think he's a finisher. He does his own thing and then disappears. So for several months, you won't hear of him and you won't see him. And when he maybe it's because he's popular, he just makes brief appearances. And everyone's trying to say, what's that? Oh, look at that cloak. Look at that thing on him. It's so quick on the screen that they have to now find out what he is. Are those shoes? Have they got darts? What are those things? And this is one of the great reasons it's become, Boba Fett has become a merchandise joy for everybody. I mean, everyone buys something Boba Fett, a figure, a card, something.
I have a Boba Fett keychain on my truck.
Oh, that's cool.
And I had the Boba Fett rifle I bought from Disneyland.
Oh, really?
So I guess one of the questions that I have to ask, because I have several people that have repeatedly asked me to ask you. I'm quite sure you get asked this all the time, but As you know, Boba Fett, after Return of the Jedi and lots of the books and so on, he has all these further adventures where he gets out of the Sarlacc pit and so on.
Hmm.
Did you feel in Return of the Jedi, when recording, that he died there, or did you think he'd probably make his way out because he has all these cool stuff?
No, he makes his way, and there's no way that he would be finished in the Sarlacc pit as quick as that. I mean, he'd have gone. To me, the Sarlacc pit was like a sort of a Disney function, a Disney sort of play area, and you'd go in there, and one or two people would lose their life, unfortunately, but Boba Fett would probably fire at the tentacles of the Sarlacc and be out in minutes if he needs to be. But I think he settled down, saw that there's a place to build an empire down in the Sarlacc pit while he waits for his next move. So he's just hanging around. No one knows. People ask me questions. I said, I don't know. But they said, but you were Boba Fett. I said, well, I still don't know. Boba Fett doesn't know what he's going to do next. He doesn't know.
Yeah, when he's ready and when he's good and ready, you'll know. Until then, no one knows.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot
I
of.
don't.
There's the character Jodo Kast, which is like he's pretending to be Boba Fett. Nowhere near as clever, but you see him. He's nipping through. You hear stories about him or read comics about. Although I don't read enough about Boba Fett, this Jodo Kast is a dangerous customer because he's trying to take his identity. So there's a problem there as well.
I don't think I'd want to be on a Disneyland ride where several people will die.
Yeah, but then again, if you're being off by Boba Fett, it's almost an honor.
Oh, that's true.
I suppose so. Yeah. I mean, when they have the Star Tours ride at Disney, which is great fun, but it took me 10 goes on the machine to see Boba Fett, but it was worth it in the end.
Did you? So you enjoyed the Boba Fett scene in there where
Oh yeah,
he's looking for the bounty?
it's terrific. Yeah, I mean that new Star Tours ride is wonderful.
Oh, it's fantastic. We went there. We went on that for the preview as part of a mini con with a bunch of members from our community, and we just went nuts in the back, screaming
Terrific
with our lightsabers and everything.
Terrific.
So I guess one more question from me before I let James ask another one.
Yeah.
So in Attack of the Clones, we get a lot of Boba Fett's backstory. As far as his father goes, and as far as what happened, some of the tragedy in his past. What did you think when you first saw Attack of the Clones and saw, that scene, especially where you see young Boba Fett picking up his father's helmet and looking into it right after Mace Windu, cut off his dad's head in front of him?
Yeah, it's a good point, and I've talked about it with Daniel. Many years ago, this is before the new films were made. Many years ago, I remember being interviewed by someone, and they said, "What do you think about Boba Fett?" And I said, "Well, one thing about Boba Fett, he must never show his face. That's it. That's the end. If you show your face, you're finished." And that was the simple lines I learned. And I still stick to that. Although it's great that he has a background because there's more interest in Boba Fett when he was young and now when he's older. But all those years ago, I stuck by it and said, well, I don't think you should see his face.
Well, being an unaltered clone, being the clone that can actually age normally and kind of grow up to be like his dad, you don't know what his face looks like now because it could be really scarred. You could have changed it. No one really knows what his face looks like now because last time I saw it, he was a kid and he didn't look like the other clone kids necessarily.
Yeah, but it's funny because it's very difficult. All those years ago, people said, "So what is Boba Fett?" I said, "Well, he's human. He's a dangerous man. He does anyway." Putting back to the human. I thought now, when I asked the question, he said, "Mr. Bulloch, 10 years ago, you told me that Boba Fett was human." I said, "Well, he is." He said, "No, he's not. He's a clone." So they're having to answer different questions now, and there's a change in the family.
He's a clone of a human.
Yeah, well, Boba Fett was all those years ago with the comics, the books, and everything. And what is he like? He's a human being. He's human, not a clone.
And that is one thing that the Clone Wars TV show tries to teach, though, is that the clones are people too, and they all have different personalities. They aren't like, replicas of each other. They're all individual.
Yeah, it's like being a super clone. So you grow up naturally in the time span, 20 years, 22 years, whereas the clone ones are immediately there. They're young and then they're suddenly grown up. So it's difficult. There's lots of different questions to this. But I prefer that he keeps himself so no one knows who he is, what he's like underneath that mask. Because at some stage you see earlier on, and you see Daniel, and you think there is. Oh, so that's what I look like. And I see. So he'll grow, and then I thought, oh, that makes sense. He'll grow up to be him, but much taller. So, and then I said, well, we'll have to wait several years before the next film. So you're now taller. And Daniel and I always have a laugh about this. But I still go back to the thing that somehow you should never have seen his face.
Okay, well that answers my question. James, do you have another one?
Well, yeah. My question. Oh, excuse me. Bit of a throat tickle there.
Okay, forgiven.
But yeah, it happens. But I was wondering, like, how much do you like being a part of the Star Wars universe with fans all around the world who basically have immortalized you?
No, I think I say again that I feel very honoured to be part of it. And extremely lucky through all the work I've done. This has brought me more. I mean, I've had one or two people come round at the theatre and said, "Thank you very much. That was a wonderful play, and it's really made our evening. Thank you." Now here, all the time, you get, "Mr. Bulloch, thank you so much. I've done so much in my life, but so little. But you've made the difference to my life." Well, I haven't. The character Boba Fett has, and I think anywhere in the world, once they know you Boba Fett, you're a Boba Fett. Lots of people, oh, do the bit where you do this, and it's a character that will never go away, and to be part of this whole franchise and the whole, even when you're asked to go to Disney to go on a parade, I think, well, where can you do that? I can't do that in my road outside the house. Here you are being asked to go to Disney World, look at all the attractions, go on some of the rides. I mean, Daniel and I did last year, and unfortunately he won. But you're involved with this incredible 6 films, now probably 9. It's fantastic to be part of it.
So you've mentioned how you and Daniel Logan do a lot of things together. So do you two just get together and talk Boba Fett all the time, or just have little Fett adventures together?
No, we actually don't talk about it at all. We just talk about, have you seen the ride? Or if you go on one of the rides and he's firing guns, he's much quicker than me, but age comes wisdom, I always say to him. And we have a good laugh, and he's very excited and quite right. So he should be, to be part of all this. And he says, "I can't believe, that there's all these people pointing at me and saying hello." And I said, "Well, this is what this has done. It's incredible." And even the same thing with Tamura. When I see Tamura Morrison, he's exactly the same. He said, "This is incredible. Why the Fets? When we get interviewed, it's always, ladies and gentlemen, we now have the 3 Fets." And
potentially after episode 7 or a spinoff, we could have 4 Fets if they cast a new actor to be a Fett as well.
Yeah,
you could have the 4 Fets.
You could have the 4 Fets, and that reads better. Welcome to the 4 Fets.
It totally
have your own
sounds like
stage show.
It does. It sounds like it could be like a barbershop quartet of assassins.
The 4 Fets, yes. Well, yes, you could do that, yeah. Or Jersey Boy.
He's dead.
What's that?
It's like at the end of each performance of the 4 Fets, everybody ends up dead.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Or they take someone from the audience hostage as their bounty.
Who's that woman you're kissing, Jeremiah, throughout this whole interview?
Oh, my picture? That's my fiancée. Her name is Stephanie.
Well, congratulations. That's the longest kiss I've ever seen.
Well, thank you.
Hey,
it was quite good.
Done. Not even drawn breath.
Look at that. Look at that, Jerry. Look at that.
I don't need to breathe.
Your marriage is approved by Boba Fett.
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
I think she'll be listening to this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Fire in the cargo hold.
Dude, he's gonna. Dude, Boba
I don't know if you want both of us to go into the cargo hold.
No. See, Boba Fett's gonna kidnap you and ransom you back to Steph.
So, where are you guys based?
I am in Utah right now, going to school, and James here is in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to Knoxville.
Whoa.
Did you
Really?
know that?
No.
Well, at the moment, it's June 1st and 2nd.
So James, you know what this means?
I have to meet Boba Fett.
Well, at the moment, I know nothing of where it is or where it is, but it's in Knoxville on the 1st and 2nd of June. If you
I
look up or get on the internet, and I'm not very good, and see sci-fi, I don't know what it's called, but the sci-fi convention Knoxville, you should see me up there. But if you haven't, I'm due to go there 1st and 2nd, Knoxville.
I am
So-
so going to this.
And James, you can get a press pass.
That's right, I can. I have to work on this. I must go.
You have to work on it. But you better check it. They may have cancelled it without me knowing. But,
Well, you know what? We're definitely going to look into it.
there's a few of us going, but I think it's just confirmed because I'm going to New York the weekend after. So it makes sense while you're in America, go to Knoxville as well. Awesome, said the American.
Yes. Awesome, said the American.
So my next question is, I know recently or semi-recently you got given actual Boba Fett armor by, I want to say it was the Mandalorian Mercs, but it could be the 501st.
There's the dented helmet.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what involvement do you have in different Star Wars groups like the 501st, Mandalorian Mercs, Rebel Legion,
Well,
etc.? And what are you most proud of with your involvement there?
I think being, when I was called an honorary member of the 501st, I am now a member of the 501st. So I have my own costume. I mean, the dented helmet made this costume, which is so much lighter than the original one I wore, but beautifully made. I mean, almost tailor-made, and it was presented to me, and it was quite tear-jerking because I wore it, and it was in Dallas, and I came out in front of everybody, and there was a big cheer. And, you're part of the 501st, the Mandalorian Mercs, and different, wherever I go, someone gives me a T-shirt, either from Japan, China, well, not quite China yet, but all over America, Europe. There's this just... It is quite amazing. You could be going on for the rest of your life saying, well, where are we going? We're going there. Lovely. But I go to a lot of events here raising money for different charities because the traveling, sometimes you go in one place and then back over across America and then to Canada, back down to Mexico. And so it's very exciting to not know where you're going to be in the next few weeks. And I'm still working as well. So all in all, it's been terrific.
So do you ever like going to conventions with your costume on and like no one knows it's you because, at conventions,
No.
there's the Stormtrooper costume, just some fantastic Boba Fett costumes. And you can just walk around through the crowd with your costume on and no one will stop you.
I could walk around with a costume, and it's a bit difficult to take it with you abroad, though. But yes, I could just wander through and say, "Get out of my way." You could do. But I, to be quite honest, I don't take it with me into America because it's too tricky. It's too difficult with a huge big case you have to carry. And they say, "What's this gun?" Then you have to explain it all. It's very difficult for the guys who travel through America, the 501st. They've got used to them now, but very difficult when you're carrying several guns and they have to be put through a special thing. And it's quite heavy. And so it's a bit difficult for me to take mine.
Well, that's fantastic. So James, do you have any more questions for Jeremy Bulloch?
Dude,
For
I'm
Boba Fett?
still all must go to convention, meet Boba Fett.
Well, James, if you do, you can talk to him there.
James, if you check, just by getting on internet,
Quality went tanked.
Knoxville 1 1st and 2nd should be.
James, we hear you fine.
Then you can put the word out.
Okay, and we'll make sure we send him that way. So I guess we have one more question for you.
Okay.
So what we like to give every single one of our guests the chance to be on the soapbox so they could promote any current films they're with, shows they're with, charities especially, any causes they're working on. So is there anything you're working on right now? Well, I guess you can promote whatever you'd like, whatever you want to tell the fans, promote conventions. The soapbox is yours.
Well, here we are. The soapbox is mine. At the moment, I'm doing a lot of voice work for Mad Max, which is about an owl and a pussycat. and it's quite funny to do. And then I'm also doing a lot of voice stuff as well for one of the fastest
Oh, thank God I'm back. I'm sorry.
What's that?
James, stop it.
Sorry.
Continue. Sorry.
Sorry
no.
about that.
No, that's all right. No, I'm doing this voice thing on a documentary about the fastest train in 1938 in England, and it's a fascinating story. You get asked to do lots of things. Star Hike is another thing I've done where I played a mad doctor, and that should be out. It's called Star Hike. Other than that, I spend a lot of time with my 10 grandchildren. Well, not all of them, because the eldest ones are at university. So, I mean, at the moment, things are going very well because you're now getting the kids always asking for, Grandad, can we all go to Disney? I said, no, it's impossible. You can't. It'll happen. You can go to Paris, but not Florida. It's just impossible. But I'm very lucky I have a terrific family, and they're more important than anything I've done.
Well, I think that's probably the best way we can wrap this up. Thank you for your time, sir. We'll send people to Knoxville. We'll look up the details for your convention circuit coming up this summer.
Put James Pett and Jeremiah in the cargo hold.
Yo!
Can you repeat that without me talking so that we can use it as a bumper?
Put James Kett Bombad Radio, Jeremiah Bombad Radio in the cargo hold.
Thank you, sir.
That is
Thank
so
you.
Cool.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Uh-oh. I think Boba Fett just took Bombay Radio hostage.
I'm sorry, I think I slightly went off key there. I do apologize. I just lost it a bit.
Sometimes your split personality takes over.
Well, you have to have a split personality to be an actor, because you can get away with an awful lot of things when people say, what are you doing? I said, I'm rehearsing. Sorry. You can just best way. Anyway, guys, it's nice to talk to you. Take care. And James, I hope to see you in Knoxville. I mean, it might all collapse and it may not happen, but as far as I know, it's penciled down for the 1st and 2nd of June.
Hey, I'll tell you right now, if it's happening, I'll be there.
I'll be there.
So cool.
And we look forward to hearing about it.
Yep. Okay, take care, guys.
Take care. And may the Force be with you.
Yeah, and the Force be with you, the dark side of the Force.